The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. For people with ADHD, telling the truth isn't always as simple as it sounds. Today we're going to explore why that is and how you can free yourself from the cycle of unintentional lies. Telling the truth isn't always a choice. For ADHDers, lying often isn't intentional. It's more like a neurological hiccup, a result of how our brains are wired. This isn't about being dishonest, it's about our minds playing tricks on us. And it's crucial to know that these unintentional lies can lead to emotional discords in relationships. Imagine promising to do something, then completely forgetting about it, or blurting out an answer without thinking it through. These situations can erode trust and create misunderstandings. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why your brain sometimes makes you lie, and more importantly, how to break free from this lying cycle. We're going to explore the neuroscience behind it and give you some practical strategies to manage these tendencies. Let's dive in. So I want to start by challenging a common belief. A lot of people think lying is always a conscious choice, but what if your brain's wiring sometimes makes that decision for you? The neuroscience behind ADHD reveals quite surprising truth about unintentional dishonesty that could change how you view your own actions. So when we talk about the ADHD brain, we're dealing with a unique neurological landscape, right? The key players here are impulsivity and executive function challenges. So if you think of the executive function as your brain's CEO, and this is responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control. In ADHD, this CEO sometimes takes an unexpected vacation, leaving the company to make rash decisions. So Dr. Sam Goldstein, a renowned expert in ADHD, explains it this way. He says, people with ADHD have a tendency to act without thinking first while under stress, which may lead to an increased probability that an impulsive person may lie to avoid responsibility. So this is not about being dishonest. It's about your brain going into survival mode. So let's break this down with a real life scenario. Imagine you're at work and your boss asks if you've finished an important report. Your ADHD brain, feeling the pressure, might just blurt out, yes, it's almost done, before you've had a chance to really think about whether you've done it or not. So you didn't mean to lie, but your impulsivity kind of took the wheel. And this is where things get really interesting. Stress and pressure can amplify these impulsivity tendencies. So it's kind of like throwing gasoline on a fire. When you're stressed, your ADHD brain's already challenged executive function goes into overdrive. And this makes it even harder to pause and think before responding. So this stress response can lead to what psychologists call emotional dysregulation. And this is something that I've actually done a deeper dive video on, which I'll link to above and in the description down below. But ultimately, this means that you might struggle to say no or express your limitations honestly. You might find yourself making impulsive commitments when later you realize that you can't fulfill them. It's not that you want to let people down. It's just that your brain is trying to navigate a stressful situation in the quickest way possible. And over time, these unintentional lies can become a habit. Your brain might start using them as a defense mechanism against perceived threats or judgment. So it's kind of like your mind is trying to protect you, but in doing so, it's creating a cycle that can be hard to break. So it's one thing to learn about your brain's tendency to unintentionally lie, but it's important to consider the ripple effect because this has a massive impact on relationships. There are often times in ADHD relationships, your partner can start to doubt the words that you say, even when you're being completely honest. So it's really important to face this head on. The emotional impact of this unintentional lying in relationships is really big. For example, you promise your partner you'll handle the bills this month and genuinely intend to do so, but your ADHD brain gets distracted and you forget. When the late notices arrive for your bills, you impulsively say that you don't know what could have happened. Your partner feels betrayed. You didn't mean to lie, but the damage is already done. And these situations can create a cycle of misunderstanding and hurt. And over time, trust can erode. As an ADHD partner, your partner may start questioning everything that you say. And it's not just about forgotten bills or missed appointments. It's about the emotional discords that build up layer by layer with each unintentional lie. But it's not just your partner who suffers. As an ADHD, we can find ourselves caught in a web of shame and guilt. We didn't mean to lie, but we can't seem to stop. And this can lead to a vicious cycle where you can start avoiding difficult conversations altogether, further straining the relationship with our partners. And as a result of this, it's really crucial to know about something that a lot of ADHDers engage in, which is what psychologists call masking. So masking is when you lie to blend in with neurotypical expectations. You might tell other people that you're doing fine when you're actually struggling. And this may seem like a harmless way to avoid judgment, but it often complicates our emotional connections because shame plays a big role in this dynamic. A lot of people with ADHD are deeply ashamed of their symptoms and their challenges, and this shame can lead to lying as a means of avoiding uncomfortable topics or judgment from other people. So we can find ourselves exaggerating our accomplishments or downplaying our difficulties, all in an attempt to protect ourselves from perceived criticism. And while this is a common coping mechanism, it often backfires in our relationships. Our partners can sense that we're not being fully honest, even if they can't pinpoint exactly why. And this creates a sense of disconnection and mistrust that can be really, really hard to overcome. So to understand that recognizing these patterns is crucial to both partners who want to break the cycle of misunderstanding and hurt in ADHD relationships. So by acknowledging the role that ADHD plays in unintentional lying, we can start to address the root causes rather than just the symptoms. So we've identified the problem, but here's the million-dollar question. How do we actually break free from this cycle? What can we do to stop unintentionally lying? And just before I dig into all of this, if you do want more videos like this, then feel free to subscribe to my channel for new videos on communication, relationships, and ADHD every single week. Well, the key to honest communication isn't about willpower, but about creating the right environment and using specific methods tailored to ADHDs. So let's jump into some of the practical strategies that we can help ourselves. One really effective approach is to set up dedicated conversation times with your partner. This creates a safe space for open dialogue about ADHD-related challenges or just relationship challenges in general without the pressure of everyday distractions. And during these discussions, you can try implementing what we call a pause and reflect technique. And this is a really simple but powerful tool that can help you manage impulsivity by giving a moment to consider exactly what you want to say. And this is considering your responses before speaking. And this is kind of like hitting a pause button on your brain's autopilot. And this allows you to choose your words more carefully and say what you want to say clearly and distinctly. And by starting this supportive atmosphere, you generate more of a non-judgmental atmosphere for yourself and for your ADHD symptoms as well. And this helps you to have more honest, productive conversations. Another strategy is to anticipate and prepare for situations that might trigger unintentional lyings. So this is where a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy techniques can be really useful. So by identifying your triggers and developing coping strategies in advance, you can better navigate these challenging situations when they arise. So take the time to identify your triggers and the patterns that you have in your behavior. You know, for example, when do you find yourself most likely to blurt out an unintentional lie? Understanding these patterns can help you develop a lot more effective strategies for managing your responses. And be gentle with yourself. You know, remember you're rewiring years of ingrained habits and neurological responses. It's not going to happen overnight. But with consistent effort, you can make real progress. And recognizing these triggers and thought patterns will help you to be able to get ahead of them for the next time. And this is exactly what I work on with my ultra-normal members. We take the time to look at where these triggers come from and the thought patterns that lead to these actions that we don't want to be seeing, right? This unintentional lying. And by doing this, we get ahead of all of these things. And if you do want to join us and become an ultra-normal member yourself, then join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same tools and strategies that all of my successful members have used to turn their relationships around. Just click on the link in the description to get started. But one of the most crucial things to do is to involve your partner in this. If you're struggling with lying, if you're struggling to tell the truth in that instance, be honest about that. And this helps to build the emotional safety with your partner. You know, there can be a lot of discords within ADHD relationships. There can be emotional discords and logical discords, and it's crucial that you're honest about where the discords lie. I've actually made a deeper dive video on the types of discords in ADHD relationships, which I'll link to on the screen. But ultimately, it's about recognizing that these discords exist in order to be able to approach them in the right way, because you approach logical discords very different to emotional discords. So I'll leave you with that deep dive video, and I will see you over there.